Hi there, this is Chef Bill from the Culinary Institute of America, and I'm here to tell you that every season is pie season. Whether you're making apple pie in the fall, whether you're making pumpkin pie, whether you're making strawberry and rhubarb pie, there's always a good excuse to make pie. But let's say in the late spring, early summer, you want to make a berry pie. I've got an argument that you want those berries to show. And so why not make a lattice-top pie like this beauty right here? I'm going to show you how to do that, and it's not as hard as you might think. I've got some pie dough, and it's just out of the refrigerator, so it's a little bit firm. What I want to do is put some flour on my board, and then to soften it up, just beat it a little bit with the side of a rolling pin. Now, maybe you've never seen a rolling pin like this before. This is what the French use as a rolling pin. If you've got something that looks more like that, by all means, use that to do the work. And once you see it start to spread, then you know it's softened just enough that you can begin rolling it. When you roll pie dough, you want to roll from the center to the outside. You don't want to go back and forth like this, because when you do that, in effect, what you're doing is rolling it out and then pulling it back, rolling it out, pulling it back again, and that really is kneading, and kneading will make your pie dough tough. So from the center to the outside, periodically move it so that you know it's not stuck to the table, and make incremental changes so that it stays the shape that you want. Now, if you look closely at this pie dough, you can see the flakes of butter or lard that are beginning to spread. That's what gives you a flaky pie dough. We're going to take this down to about 1/8 of an inch thick, and we're almost there right now. It should be uniformly thick. So we've made this pie dough here, but you could easily buy a commercial pie dough from the supermarket, a frozen pie dough, bring it home, and just unfold it and you're ready to go. Okay, next I want to cut this into strips. This is what's going to make our lattice, and I'm going to use a pastry wheel and a ruler, a straight edge. And first I take that and set it aside, and then let's make this just about 1/2 inch thick. And we'll cut, set it again. I call this a pastry cutter. I'm using it as a pastry cutter. You could also use it as a pizza cutter. It serves double duty. If you have an actual pastry cutter that has a ruffled edge that would give you sort of a decorative edge on this, I would use it as well. But this is great. And if you have neither, you could easily grab a paring knife and just use a paring knife to do exactly the same work. You might even be willing to freehand this and get rid of the straight edge altogether. It depends on how confident and how adept you are. Let's imagine that I want to cut this last one freehand. Not bad. Now, what you see here, the scrap that's left over, when I went to the CIA, this was referenced by my instructor as tortured pie dough. And he said that tortured pie dough was only appropriate for the bottom crust of a pie, but not the top crust of a pie dough. And if I rolled it again after having rolled it once already, it would be twice tortured pie dough. And twice tortured pie dough was not appropriate for anything but mixing with virgin or fresh pie dough. So keep that in your mind. And we can save this for later on. So I have here my pie that's already filled with berries. The berries with spices, sugar, and instant tapioca, that'll bind the juices, and we're ready to shape this lattice. First thing I'm going to do is just put a small amount of egg wash around the outside. Egg wash is nothing more than egg beaten with a tablespoon of water and a pinch of salt. That's going to act as the glue that will stick our lattice to the edge. I'm going to begin in the middle with one of the long strips. I'll lay it right down the middle like that. And then a slightly shorter one I'll lay like this. And a shorter one still on the edge. And if you're doing a lattice-top pie, I would suggest an odd number of stripes. So we're going to do 5. All right, so there is 5 strips of dough. What I want you to do is take the center one and fold it back, and the 2 outside strips and fold those back as well, and take another one and lay it across the pie. And then we're going to lay these back in place and take the opposite strips and fold those up and dough in and bring those down. And we can probably do it one more time. I'm going to take this, lay it in, and fold this over. Now, I'm going to turn the whole thing around so that this side of the pie is towards me. And again, I'm going to fold these up, lay in a strip of dough, fold them down, take the opposite strips and fold those up, put in another piece of the lattice, fold those down, and I think we've got room for one more. And we're done. There's our lattice. Now, it's a little rough around the edge, but don't worry about that right now. I have a fork right here, and what I'm going to begin by doing is just press those pieces of the lattice into the bottom crust. Just stick them into place. And as I go around, I carry on pressing down, press it right into the damp egg wash below, and then take a sharp knife and just trim the edge. We're very close to being done with this pie. I'm going to take my egg wash again, make sure that the brush is not too sloppy, because I want to egg wash just the lattice. I don't want this to be a summer berry and fried egg pie. I want this just to be a berry pie. So we'll just glaze the lattice with this brush, and that'll give it a nice shine, and it will also help it color in a really beautiful way. This is really your last chance to evaluate the evenness or the pleasing nature of your lattice. If it seems a little cattywampus, if it looks like Dr. Seuss put your pie together, then you've got the luxury of just rearranging the strips or the lattices just a tiny bit. Take your fork once again and create this decorative border on the outside of the pie just by pressing the tines of the fork down into all the dough, not just the lattice, but the bottom crust as well. The oven is preheated. I would bake this pie at about 425 degrees. You can see it wasn't that hard. The pie is glazed. I have it on a cookie sheet in case it boils over, and we're going to put it into a preheated oven at 375 degrees. Now, if you put it towards the bottom of the oven, that will guarantee that you get a lot of bottom heat, and that will make sure that the bottom crust is browned and not soggy. Okay. The pie's in the oven. 35 to 45 minutes from now, it will be done. And when it comes out, obviously, you've got to let it cool before you cut into it. A lattice-top pie is the perfect excuse to show off not just the beautiful fruit that you're using, but your brand new rock star baking skills.